Take it away, Bill.
Hey, good morning. It's glad to be here with you this morning. It's been a long day for me. Third time this morning. Maybe we can get the same message happening. That's a hard thing to do too. But anyway, just wanted to share. We've been talking about change, right? How to change your world. Last week, John shared with us a tremendous message concerning that we need to listen to God. And that was sort of a key, and that's why we passed out the key. So as we look at that key, that's one of the keys to change. And we just simply need to listen to God and do what He says. But the truth of the matter is really not that simple, is it, when it comes to change? Change can be pretty difficult. If it happened easily, I think we all would do it. Some of us get frustrated too, because like me, I do not make annual, how can you say it, New Year's resolutions. Now, I'll have annual goals, but I don't make a New Year's resolution. Why don't I make New Year's resolution? I'm tired of failing. I never seem to accomplish it. There was a time in my life that I was struggling with something, and it was my weight, and I went to the doctor. I'm still struggling with it, just to be honest with you, you can't tell. But anyway, went to the doctor, and the doctor said, "Bill, you're going to die." I weighed about 350 pounds. He says, "You're going to die if you don't take care of it. You got to lose some weight here. What's your problem? Don't you love your kids? Don't you love your wife? Don't you want to be around for them?" And I said, "Sure." He says, "Well, let's share with me some of the things that you're doing." And one of the things I shared with him is I love Mountain Dew. I'm a Dew freak. So I enjoy drinking Mountain Dew. And I still do, just to be honest with you. So I enjoy Mountain Dew. So one of the things he said he had to change new life was, you cannot drink Mountain Dew. You have to stop drinking Mountain Dew. Now the second he said that, I have to admit, the first words on my mouth was, I can't do that. It's impossible. You don't understand. And the truth of the matter is, just to share with you so you understand what it was like, I drank a case of pop a day. Now, it wasn't a 12-can case. It wasn't a 24-can case. It was one of those 36 cans. I didn't drink water. I didn't drink anything else, but I just drank Mountain Dew. It was a crutch. I mean, I had to have a can of Mountain Dew in my hand, in my car, on my desk, and all of them open hell at the same time. And that's just how I lived my life. And that was, I didn't drink anything else. I didn't know what else to drink except Mountain Dew. And I don't even know how it got to that point in my life, but it did. And I had to make a change. And when he said that, I was immediately thinking, there's no way. I can't do that. And I have to admit, the first thing that crossed my mind was fear. And one of the things I hate to do is say I'm going to do something and don't do it, because I call that failure. And I have to fail. I just don't like that word. So I have a lot of fear of failure. So a lot of times I choose not to do something just because, you know what, I don't want to fail. So I'm just not going to do it, right? And so there's a lot of things inside that 12-ounce can that was bundled up that was preventing me from wanting or having this great desire to succeed. And that can basically control my life every day. And so I needed to give it up. And so I began the process. And one of the things I did, and I did do it on purpose, and I don't recommend you do this, I went to a church that had about 5,000 people. And I announced to everybody in the church I was giving them Mountain Dew. Right from here. And that's a dumb thing to do, because where I was living, in that part of the area, it was everybody knew everybody. We went to the grocery stores and saw everybody every day. We went everywhere. You couldn't go anyplace without seeing somebody, right? So if you want to stop doing something, there you go. And every time I saw them, "Hey Bill, you quit drinking Mountain Dew? Hey Bill, did you stop drinking Mountain Dew? Hey Bill, are you drinking Mountain Dew? What do you got in your hand there? Is it a Mountain Dew?" I was like, "Really?" This is like, irritating, And after about 3 months, I was struggling, and we started a group in our home. And we were meeting in this group, and I noticed that we had pop. It was one of the things we did before we had a group. We had a snack and something to drink, and we're in the bar pop, as well as other drinks. And one of those drinks, guess what it was? Mountain Dew, right? So I said to myself, aha, there's Mountain Dew in the house. She's hiding it from me, right? So after the group that night, the next day I went looking for the Mountain Dew, and I found it. It was behind the dryer in the clothes room, or the washroom. And I found that case of pop, and I pulled it out, and I looked at it and said, should I or shouldn't I? And I thought to myself, well, nobody can see me. I'm in my house, right? Nobody will know. So I thought, well, yeah, they will. Brenda will know, because she'll know the case is open, and she didn't open it. So I said, okay, I'll open up the case very carefully. And that's exactly what I did. Opened up the case, took that can of Mountain Dew out, carefully opened up the can, and then drank it. And it was the worst can of Mountain Dew I have ever drank or drunk. That's a word. Anyway, or drank. That's the proper. Okay, so I said, I said, okay, now I gotta hide the evidence. So I can't throw it away. So next best thing, I went and got a little pick and I pulled the top of that can back up so it looked like it hadn't been open. Went to a case of Mountain Dew, pulled out about 4 or 5 cans, put that one in, put 4 or 5 more cans back inside, and glued the case shut. Nobody will ever know, right? So the next time we had brew, one of the guys got one of those empty cans that was in our group. He said, hey, Bill, you got a problem. Your case is leaking pop in the back. And I said, oh, okay. We better check it out, right? So Brenda comes back and looks. Hey, no, there's nothing leaking. There's nothing wet here. Brenda comes out and she just looked at me. And of course I had guilt all over my face. And she didn't say anything, which her eyes and my eyes sort of said, no, you're a dead man. No, there's nothing true, okay? So, but you think you can hide things and, sort of trick your way through things? You can't. You can't. And I know we do that, that's all part of it, but, it's difficulty to give up things in our lives. And sometimes, not only give up things, do things, right? New things that we've never done before. Allow change to happen, or be in a place that is changing everything that's going on. That's hard, right? Change is hard. We're this size, and now we're that size, and so this size I was more comfortable, I'm not comfortable with this size, and I like the better, whatever. So change is hard. But God has asked us to be people of change, and that's how God works in our lives, right? And so this is sort of about, as we go into this, is trying to understand that how some thoughts on what is necessary is for us to take the next step. Not just listen to God, but how do we make that change? What are some of the things that we need to do? Or maybe I need, or my attitude and my outlook should be like as I look at change. And so in scripture here, it sort of talks about that in the book of Matthew. We're going to be in Matthew 25 today, but first just sort of set the scene here. Jesus and his disciples had just come out of the temple. And as they come out of the temple, the disciples look around and they tell Jesus, wow, look at all these wonderful things here. Look at the temple, how beautiful it is. Look at the walls of Jerusalem, how beautiful they are. And Christ turns to him and says this. He says, I just want to share with you guys, there's going to be change. Change is upon you. And this discourse is all about change. I'm going to be leaving you. I'm not going to be here anymore. In fact, he tells the disciples that every stone in this place is going to be knocked down. And we know that happened. 70 years later, we know Rome came and destroyed the temple. And even on the Temple Mount today, there's no temple. We see a mosque. So the temple isn't even there anymore. So Christ was sharing with them there's going to be some changes. And there's some things that your attitude and maybe some thoughts that might be necessary in your life. A perspective maybe when it comes to change. And a lot of times when it comes to change, it's how we see things, isn't it? How we view it. And that causes us to have this perception of failure or perception of fear. Before we even start out, and sometimes that even prevents us from doing right away what we know we should do. We don't even make that New Year's resolution. And if somebody asks us to do something, we just simply say no. We don't take time to really value that. And so this story is sort of about that. So what do you see? So when it comes to making change and versus stagnation, being stuck in the same place, how do we get past being stuck and not making change? not doing something different that is necessary in our lives. And that's exactly what we do. And so it's sort of based upon how we perceive and what we see in the future. So what do you see? And what do you think is the truth? And I'm going to pose this thought to you. Do you see hopelessness or do you see hope? What do you see? What are you looking at? What is your can full of? Is it full of hope or hopelessness? What is it that could allow us to make that change in our life that's necessary for us to make it? And so that's what we're going to talk a little bit about today. What is it that's necessary for us to make the change? And so I give some examples of 3 people here in Scripture that needed, one that needed to make a change, the other 2 who knew exactly what they needed to do to make it work when they were asked to do something or asked to make a change in their lives. And we'll start with verse 14. It says this: "For it is just like a man about to go on a journey who called his own slaves and entrusted his possessions to them. And to one he gave a talent, to another 2, and to another 1, each according to his own ability, and he went on his journey. Immediately the one who had received the 5 talents went out and traded them with them and gained 5 talents. In the same manner, the one who had received the 2 talents gained 2 more. But he who received the 1 talent went out and dug in the ground and hid his master's money." Now what's really important here is that the master entrusted something with these servants as he was going to be gone. In fact, that's what this was about. Jesus was preparing his disciples for change. He was leaving. And he was entrusting with them something that needed to be taken care of. So he uses this parable to share this story with them. And so, as we see here, we talk about talent. So what is a talent? And some people say it's money, some people can say it's other things, but a talent basically is a lifetime wage that somebody earns. And so this person was entrusted with 5 lifetime wages. Isn't that interesting? So he was entrusting something of high value with the 5, and 2 with the other, and 1 with another, according to their ability that God had given them. And so they were entrusted with much. When we say entrusted, what do we mean by the word entrusted? So when somebody gives you something that is theirs, their expectation is that you take care of it and grow it in a manner that as though it was your own. That's what it means to be entrusted with something. Some of us are entrusted with things, aren't we? When you think about being entrusted with things. God has given me a wife. God has given me a husband. God has given us children. God has given us grandchildren. God's entrusted a lot to us to take care of. He's entrusted to me children here in the church as we minister to them. He's entrusted to me families. He's entrusted to you all those same things. And it's a serious thing when we think about it. A lifetime wage. If somebody gave you their lifetime wage, that'd be a pretty huge honor, wouldn't it? And there'd be some huge expectations of what we're supposed to do with it, right? And we see that how the one who received 5 and the one who received 2, they immediately went out and gained double back. They just didn't bury it in the ground because what they had was too precious to waste. And sometimes we're like that sermon. God has given us something that's too precious to waste, isn't it? And we bury it in the ground. Now, even the ground that it was buried in, when you talk about that word ground, we're talking about a hard ground, a cement-like hardness in the ground, right? So he had to work hard to bury that and to hide that away. But God had, or the master had entrusted them with a lifetime of wages. And the expectation is that he would do something with that lifetime of wages. And not do nothing and bury it in the ground and allow it just to stay there and do nothing. gain no more value. And so, you see, his attitude was to run away, work at digging a hole, and bury what he was given to them. Now, a lot of times we do that because we're just simply what? Afraid. So here's some of the things I know that I've used in my life when asked or entrusted with things, or asked to take care of things. I can't do it. I don't know how to do it. So I tell them, what? No. Do you think the person that was going to entrust me with that, something of such great value, when he gives it to me, would give it to me without knowing that I should be able to take care of it? Would you do that? No. So when God gives us something, God is fully aware that we're capable people and capable of taking care of what we're entrusted with and the expectations that we do that. We know that if you turn to 1 Corinthians chapter 12, verses 4 through 7, this is what it says. Now, there are varieties of gifts, but the same Spirit. And there are varieties of ministries, and the same Lord. And varieties of effects, but the same God who works all things, but the same God who works all things, but the same God who works all things in all persons. But to each one is given the manifestation of the Spirit for the common good. God's got our back. You know what he even says here? Let's read the beginning. Varieties of gifts. Where do those come from? Your spiritual gifts and your talents and your passions. Those all come from God. He's given them to you. And the beauty of it, each one of us has something different. And that's the idea, is that for the common good, for all of us to put those things to work together. Not just some, not just one or two, but all of us. And here's the one I really like the most. There are varieties of effects. When you look at the Greek in that, you know what he's saying? He says, whatever I give you what you need to do it. I give you the power. I give you the knowledge. And remember what one of the keys was? If we listen to God and do it. That's sort of the key. But a lot of times, we allow fear to be in that can. The can that controls our lives to keep us from doing what God would have us to do. Now, in my life, that can have huge control. Let me tell you what, I couldn't tie my shoes. I couldn't bend over to tie my shoes. I'm going to share this. I've never shared with any of the group. You're a small group here, so I'll share it. I had to have room to tie my shoes. And I still couldn't give up that can. And I remember going to the store to try to buy jeans. I was out of 48s. I was 48-inch waist. And I was just getting into 50s. They don't make 50-inch jeans. Did you know that? I didn't. I couldn't even wear jeans. How was I to do ministry in that condition? Couldn't, right? So there had to be some major changes in my life. I had to get sort of serious about what I needed. Because God entrusted me with these talents, this lifetime wage that was so valuable. And what I was doing was I was digging a hole and putting it in the ground. Because I was afraid to make a change in my life. I was allowing fear to control what is going on in my life. And as I remember thinking, and I can remember this vividly, and I can remember having the same feelings not too long ago too, just to share, that I was wasting what God had given me. I remember this thinking that. And I thought to myself, all those people that God has plans for me to be part of their lives, my children, my wife, families, other people, I was wasting it. I needed to do something different. I needed to make a change. But I was afraid. And I was allowing fear to control my life. And so now as we look at this here in verse 19, it says, now after a long time, the masters of those slaves came and settled the accounts with them. The one that had received the 5 talents came up and brought 5 more talents, saying, Master, you entrusted me with 5, and 5 talents to me. See, I have gained 5 more. Wouldn't that be exciting that someone's entrusting you something that's so valuable, 5 times a man's wage, and he took action immediately. The action he took grew it 5 times greater. What a blessing that is in so many ways. The relationships, the people, the joy, the changed lives, the changed destinies. What a blessing to be part of that. And then, as the next one says, his master said to him, well done, good and faithful slave. You were faithful with a few things, and now I'll put you in charge of many things. Enter into the joy of your master. It also says, also, the one who had received the 2 talents came up and said, Master, you entrusted me with 2 talents. See, I have gained 2 more talents. His master said to him, well done, good and faithful slave. You were faithful with a few things, but I will put you in charge of many things. Enter into the joy of your master. They had something to celebrate when they got together. They had something to say, praise God. Something to give back. They knew that was never theirs, but God entrusted it with them. And what a blessing it is not only to give back to Him what we originally had, but to give back Him double of what He has given us. What a blessing. When me and Rudy got married, we wanted 12 kids. We ended up with 4. So is that double? 2 times 2 is 4. When I get to heaven, God, I doubled what you gave me. These are yours. I have 8 grandchildren. That means I need to have 8 more, but we're hoping. God, here's 8 more that you gave me. So 4, 8, you doubled it. What a blessing. Now, it's not just done there. We get to be here as a community of believers, and we're entrusted with each other, aren't we? To encourage one another, to build up one another, to equip one another, to love one another. To double our size. It's all about multiplication. It's not about size, right? Small isn't better, bigger isn't better either. It's about multiplying what God has entrusted with us and giving it back to Him. That's what it's about. And that's what God is asking us to do here. And what a blessing it will be when we get to heaven. And God says to us, well done. Great job. What a joyful time that will be for us. And we go into verse 24, and it says this, and the one who had received the 1 talent came up and said, Master, I knew you were a hard man, reaping where you did not sow and gathering where you scattered no seed. And I was afraid. Do you see the problem? I was afraid. So fear kept him from risking of the great value of what God gave him, trusting God to double what He was given, to be able to give that back. And he went away, was afraid, and went away and hid your talent in the ground. See, you have what is yours. What was God? What was that man short, that servant or slave showing God? Nothing. Nothing. Zero. There wasn't a net loss, but there was no gain. It was nothing. He was showing God exactly what God had, or the master, and giving back to him exactly what he gave to him. He did nothing. A lot of times, our perceptions, remember, our picture of what we see and projecting in the future is what keeps us from risking what we know we need to risk for God. Isn't it a risk to start a church? John and JD took a risk. They moved from Louisiana, picked up, sold their homes, bought a home. Can you say homes? Mississippi. It's down in, it's still down in whatever. Yeah, that's what it is. Okay, cool. But anyway, so they risked to come up here, right? They sold everything. That was a huge risk. Think about it. And what does God bless them with? It's amazing, right? He could have stayed there, but God put something on his heart. And he took a risk. He walked out in faith. And God's blessed him. What a blessing it is for us all to be here together. And John had a vision. I know he did. He had a picture of what this was going to look like. And it wasn't fear. It wasn't fear. And so sometimes that's what it is. Our picture of who God is sometimes isn't exactly what we think it should be, right? So we have this picture of God, and I just put this up simple because I'm a simple guy, but a lot of times I think God is just simply not fun. Right? And I can remember, and don't we all want to have fun? Don't we all want to have a good time when we do it? And that's why we do what we do, right? We're afraid of not having what? Fun. Afraid of failure. I mean, fear is a big thing. It comes in so many different ways and so many different pictures for so many different people. So God wants you to know that he's a God of hope, not hopelessness. John took a risk, right? He had a hope. And his hope was in Jesus Christ. And he knew he listened to God, and God told him to do it, and he did it, and he trusted God, he took a risk. And I can say again, I bet John will do it again. I know he will. And you know what else? He's going to encourage others to do it too. He's going to multiply it. What a blessing when he gets to heaven, huh? Master, look what I've done. You entrusted me with this, and it wasn't me, but you did it, but you allowed me to. Praise God. That's joy. As we look, and so I know sometimes, and this verse I'm going to share with you is not my life verse, but it's one of them. I have several. But this is actually the life verse of another man who did the same thing John did, planted the church. And it grew to 5,000. Can you believe that? This is his verse. And I just wanted to share it with you. It says this. He says, "For I know the plans that I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans for welfare and not for calamity, to give you a future and a hope." Hope. Pretty cool. So God, or this master, entrusts these things with these men in hope that they would hope and trust him, and that what he knew was the truth about them, and that they could go out and multiply this and make it greater. Not to take it and to hide it in the ground. As we go on a little bit further in Matthew here, it says this. "And the one who also had received the 1 talent came up and said, Master, I knew you to be a hard man, reaping where you did not sow and gathering where you scattered no seed. And I was afraid and went away and hid your talent in the ground. See, you have what is yours." See, you have what is yours. Nothing. God already had it. He didn't do anything to multiply it, to change it. And they allowed fear to hide that talent in the ground. And I just want to share with you, is no matter who we are, nothing goes away until it's resolved. We can't run away, and we can't hide. It's not going to change anything. God has entrusted us with things, and now we need to live our lives by faith, listen to God, and do it. Now I'm going to have somebody come up and share with you, Alex, how she has in her own life taken these steps to overcome fear, to minister and not to hide her talents away. As you can see, she's always up front. So she's doing music, and she also works with our youth. Things that are worthy of somebody's wages for a year, right? So let's listen here what she has to say.
For the past 10 years, I had struggled and dealt with an eating disorder, and within the last 5, I had kind of felt like, okay, Alex, you got to get this under control. Like, you got to figure this out, because it was definitely not in line with what God had called me to. So I, for the past 3 years, have really just kind of began the process of stepping out of this safety that I had created for myself over the past 10 years of my life. And God has just been so faithful, because every day it is a struggle. I mean, there are things that come up every day that are hard, and fear comes in like there's no tomorrow. But God is like, Alex, take the risk and function in my love instead of functioning in this fear. And I'm like, but it's so safe. But God's like, what's safe about this? This causes anxiety and chaos and even more fear and just turmoil. And you aren't functioning in the things that I've called you to. So, Alex, why don't you trust me and take a risk, and function in my love? And I'm like, okay. But he's like, Alex, all you're going to get is grace and love and peace and joy that you can't experience when you function in this safety that you built for yourself. And there's been so much freedom. Even throughout the ups and the downs, there's so much freedom to know that, you know what, God, I'm going to choose today to function in your love so that I can function in the things that you called me to. And it's so awesome. I mean, the worship ministry and the youth ministry, which I never thought I'd do youth ministry, but I love those kids more than anything. So God has just been so good and so faithful. When I decided to take the step and be like, I'm not going to function in fear anymore. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to step into this path. I'm going to step into this one. So God is so faithful, and he's worth taking the risk for, that is for sure.
Doesn't matter who we are, we can't hide. And here's sort of the key, the secret to another key that unlocks change in our lives. It's called hope. Living with the power of hope. That's a big deal. So when I say that, what is hope? And I'm just going to share what it is. It's the optimistic attitude and belief that Jesus Christ is the author, source of our great expectation of salvation and abundant life, rich with exceeding joy. That's hope. So when we live, that's what conquers fear, is hope, not hopelessness. Do you wake up in the morning with hope? Is your can full of fear? Or is it full of hope? Do you trust God enough to do what he says he's going to do? See, that servant didn't get it. He allowed fear to grip his life, and he did nothing. So So the challenge for us is to allow hope to envelop our life, to be the center of our life, to give us the power to make the changes in our life that God asks us to do. That's what it's about. So what's your picture? What do you see? Who is your God? I have a picture here I want to share with you. I love this picture. And at the time I was making all these changes in my life, I came across this picture. In fact, I hung it in my office. I went and bought it online and hung it in my office. And I had it on the front wall, not behind me, because I wasn't on the wall. So when I walked in my office every day, I saw that picture of hope. And that's how I view this, as a picture of hope. Jesus Christ holding up a man, and I know that man is me. And my hope is that I will let go. But you know what? He promises that. So that's how I live my life. That's what I want to remember, is that God's got my back. He's there for me. I have nothing to be afraid of. I have nothing to fear. I don't have to run. I don't have to hide. I can face with confidence the things I need to face in life and make the change necessary because God promises He'll be there right with me. I don't have to do it alone. And so that gives us courage, right? Courage to make change. I don't call it just courage. I call it an audacious courage. Something that's beyond our imagination. Is not something that I have. It is something that God has given me and that I can experience and live with. And so I just want to leave that with you. As you go, what's your perfection? What do you see in the future? Is it hope or hopelessness? Let's pray. Dear Lord, again, we're so grateful for this time. We ask that you bless it. We ask that you use it. Lord, help us to be people of audacious courage and faith. People of hope. Knowing full well that we have a God who loves us, that will never leave us or forsake us, and walk right alongside us through it all. We ask that you give us all courage to step out and to do what you ask us to do, to hear your voice. Whatever it might be, Lord, in our lives. Not to hide away the valuable things that you have given us, but to multiply it in your name. And we pray this in your name. Amen.